Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Silent Hour Stories, where every midnight hides a tale. I'm your host, Skull, and tonight's story is written and submitted by a listener. So let's see what chilling tale they sent my way. What would you do if the thing you planted to protect your family grew into something that consumed them instead? This is the story of the tree that devoured my father. It began slowly, subtly. I was 10 years old and living with my parents in a modest two-story house. Not a mansion, but it was comfortable enough. We weren't poor, nor were we rich. In fact, life was simple. Every morning I walked to school. Every afternoon I played outside. Every evening my father cooked dinner. Life was simple until one day my dad came home with a seed. I remember it well because he was in a good mood and carried me around on his shoulders while he sang a silly song. After putting me down, he handed me the seed. It was big, black, gnarled, and heavy. I remember staring at it, wondering how such a tiny thing could possibly grow into something big. My dad called it a miracle. He said the universe had gifted him this seed, which was grown from a tree that existed before the beginning of time. Apparently, the seed was special and would grow into a powerful tree that would protect us. The man who gave him the seed said it would become a king in our yard, but it would also be our king. It would watch over us and shield us from harm. Of course, I dismissed these claims as the ramblings of a madman, but I didn't say anything. How could I argue with a seed that existed since the dawn of existence itself? My dad went on about its wonders, but I looked at it like it was a lump of coal. Still, I never questioned him again when it came to the tree. He planted it in the front yard and spent hours carefully tending to it. I remember walking up to him and asking, "Why are you spending so much time on that tree?" Dad smiled and put his arm around my shoulder. "Because it's special," he said simply. I nodded obediently, but I didn't believe him. Still, I wanted to believe him. As the weeks passed, the tree grew larger and more robust, but my dad's health seemed to decline. I noticed that all the plants near the tree wilted and died. No matter what he did, nothing would survive beneath its shadow. One afternoon, I found him in the garden crying. I walked up to him and asked what was wrong. "Oh, I don't know," he said, wiping tears from his eyes. "I just wish that tree would die. Everything dies under its shadow. There's no light, no life, only death." Suddenly, I felt guilt creep into my heart. I had ignored him, judged him. Maybe I was wrong about the tree. Maybe it really was special. "Dad, maybe you should take a break," I said hesitantly. "Sure," he replied with a sad smile. "You're right, I'll take a break." But he never did. He continued to spend most of his time in the shade of the tree, sitting quietly. Sometimes he talked to it or sang songs to it. He seemed content, though. The tree seemed to bring him peace. I didn't understand it, but it must have been a good thing. My mother noticed my dad's change in behavior, and I'm sure she thought it was her fault. She tried everything to draw him away from the tree, but nothing worked. It broke her heart. I hated the tree for that. Then one night, I heard screams in the middle of the night. I woke up drenched in sweat. The dreams always came at night. The tree consumed my father. I watched in horror as it enveloped him, its branches coiling around him like pythons. Its leaves muffled his screams. I reached out to help him, but my hands passed through the tree. I couldn't save him. And then I woke up. The dreams continued throughout the next few months. I begged my mom to take me out of that house. I begged her to take me anywhere, but she just held me tighter, burying her face in my hair.
"Don't worry, sweetie,"
she whispered.
"It's okay. Daddy's fine."
But I knew she was lying. My dad was still out there in the yard with the tree. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't bear to see my father disappear into that tree. And even if he was okay, I couldn't bear to see my mother cry anymore. So one night, I decided to cut down the tree. I grabbed an axe from the shed, crept into the yard and approached the tree. The moon was full that night, bathing the world in silver light. But underneath the tree, it was pitch black. I stepped into the darkness and reached out to touch the rough bark. It was cold and slick, like wet leather. I don't know why, but that disturbed me. I stared at the base of the tree and noticed the ground had caved in. A small hole gaped open, revealing a pitch-black void. I bent down to peer inside, and that's when I heard a voice. It was raspy, dry, and seemed to come from inside the tree. "Don't!" I jumped back, startled, and swung the axe blindly. I missed the trunk, but connected with something inside the tree. Liquid splashed out of the wound, and I gasped. It was blood. I felt a sudden surge of panic and confusion. What was this thing? Was it my dad? Was it the tree? Why was it bleeding? Then another voice echoed through the yard. "Get away from the tree." My mom stood on the patio, her face pale and eyes wide with fear. "Mom, I don't understand," I yelled back. "What is this thing?" "You can't kill it," she screamed. "It's protecting us. Please, please leave it alone." She was crying. Her voice was filled with anguish. I hesitated, torn between my fear and my need to help my dad. Then I heard a desperate plea. "Help me." It was my dad's voice, weak, faint, but unmistakably his. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I had to help him. Ignoring my mom's pleas, I charged back into the darkness and swung the axe with all my might. The sound of wood splitting echoed through the night, but as I pulled the axe away, I saw not wood, but flesh. I felt sick to my stomach. I pulled away the rest of the tree's bark to reveal a humanoid form beneath. It was covered in blood. I couldn't see a face, but I could see arms and legs, fingers and toes. It was a creature made of flesh and blood, yet somehow it was part of the tree. Suddenly it twitched. The flesh beneath the bark rippled and the head turned towards me. It opened its mouth and spoke. "Thank you." The voice was raspy and weak, but it was definitely my dad. I ran, stumbling through the darkness, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't look back. I didn't want to see the creature, but I could hear it. It was moving. I burst through the front door and collapsed on the floor, gasping for breath. I don't know how long I stayed there, but eventually my mom found me. She knelt beside me and asked what happened. I told her about the tree, about the creature, about my dad. I told her I killed it. "I think I killed him," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. My mom was silent for a moment. She didn't say a word, but I could tell she understood. We stayed like that for a while, just holding each other and crying. Eventually, she got up and said she needed to go check on Dad. I wanted to stop her, but she was already gone. I waited for what seemed like hours, but it was probably only minutes. Then she came back. Her face was ashen and her eyes were filled with sadness. She sank to the floor beside me and whispered, "It's gone, the tree and Dad, they're both gone." Relief washed over me, but it was short-lived. When I saw the look in my mother's eyes, I knew I'd made a terrible mistake. The tree may be gone, but the darkness it brought is here to stay. We lived in that house for another year. My mother never recovered from losing my father, and I never recovered from losing my innocence. Now I'm older, and I understand more. The tree wasn't evil, it was sick. My dad was the one who was wrong. He chose to ignore the warnings, and he paid the ultimate price. But I still wonder what would have happened if I hadn't cut down that tree. Would my dad still be alive? Would he still be in there right now? Or would the tree have consumed him completely? Sometimes I think about cutting down the next tree I see, hoping to find my dad beneath it. But every time I do, I remember the darkness, and I stop. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this terrifying tale, be sure to leave us a comment down below. Would you cut down the mysterious tree? Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Silent Hour Stories, where midnight whispers never end. Until next time, everyone, stay safe, sleep tight, and remember, Some trees are best left standing.